I'm filming. And that's happening right next to you, though. Oh my God.
A crew with Jax, Peter, Chris, Voga, Judy, and Jane.
Are you in this picture?
I'm taking the picture.
Oh, that makes sense.
Chris was building a boat and says, I'm building a boat. And that means that he was building a boat to go sailing, right? And I said, well, that sounds like a good idea, okay? Let's first build it and then, see what happens. So we looked around and found a hull, which was that already was half built. The guy didn't want it anymore. As I say, this boat was made up of stolen parts more than anything else and hard labor. You find things and people are willing to give things and whatnot, Whenever we saw a old building being knocked down, we would go there and ask them if we could take the weights away in the windows, the sash windows. And we needed, 5 tons of that for the keel, so you can imagine, how many pieces you would need. So everything we did was squirreled in some way.
How long did it take to build?
5 years.
5 years?
Mm-hmm. There were 5 of us, 5 kids and 2 parents and 1 bathroom.
No.
Oh yeah. It was a small rural town in Africa in a place called Dundee. We all 3 shared a room, not even as big as yours.
Yeah.
All the boys in one and the girls in the other. It was pretty much the way it is, These are some of the pictures from our scouting. We had obstacle courses. I guess must be like Tough Mudders. So this here is more the leadership course, I guess, in the Boy Scouts. There I am.
Where?
There. Cool dude.
Tallest one, jeez.
No, that's Jax. He's taller. But my background is very blue collar. We weren't particularly rich. Actually, we were frankly quite poor. And after school in South Africa, there was conscription. You had to do a year in the Army or the Navy or the Air Force. I was in the Air Force. So that's me in the Air Force.
Oh my gosh. I never thought I'd ever see you in uniform.
There you go. We were all in. That was my dog. I was a guard commander. So you can see I worked very hard. And we used to climb up this big pole here that was about 30 stories up. It was a repeater station, and we were keeping that from terrorist attack. Anyway, as you can see, we were very terrorist oriented. It was tempting to stay. I nearly tried out for a pilot, but eventually those planes you're flying are going to do some damage, and that wasn't in my to-do list. This is in Bachelor's Inn. It's Paul Barnard, Nick Zinn. I've forgotten these other two buggers' names. There we are. This is my days at college. Trays and trays of slides. For me, the options were very slim. Lived in a world where there wasn't any excess money. I mean, I would say we were bloody poor. Most of the time, we were bloody poor. But the construction companies were happy to put you through college. You were indentured. Nobody went on vacation at summer. You worked. And it was pretty good. And Bachelor's Inn was well known. It was the bitch in his house. And once a month we would have a sheep on the spit. The word got out. And it was pretty cool stuff. But then I had the motorbike accident. There was a compound fracture. There's a scar which goes from up here to down there. It was plated, bone grafted 3 times. Then there's a scar here, all the way here, and all the way there. My arm was completely crushed completely broken in 7 places here. So they screwed that with plates as well. That's where they removed the spleen and the kidney. I had 140 stitches in my head. Yeah.
140?
Yeah, because I wasn't wearing a helmet, and they weren't,
You can't tell now because it's all sunspots.
That's right. The sun damage is taken over, but the entire, this is it. So that was just that was that accident. So I was in a coma for about a week or so. I was in a cast with my arm for about 4 months, maybe more. With my leg, it was 2 years. So that for 2 years.
Gosh. You see the crutches too.
Yeah, and for 2 years I had crutches. You can see the blood coming through. You see that? It kept on bleeding and the bone wouldn't heal. You can see that is, I just don't have these memories. It never healed, it bled. Oh, fuck yeah, no idea. Anyway. You had to kind of reflect on the fact that you dodged a bullet, but only later in life do you realize how big that bullet was. I gotta tell you.
Oh.
Salad? Why, you don't like cauliflower soup?
No, I like it, but it's just the most bland soup you could possibly think of
Have
making.
you ever had it?
Yes, I have.
Is it
Of course I
bad?
have. You've given it to us before. It's just
I don't think it's
the least flavorful vegetable
but with,
put into a soup.
with beans, but I want to do some, make it with some,
Oh, but it's homemade.
yes.
Oh, okay, that's much better.
Yeah, with cannellini beans, and I'm going to make it with curd.
Oh, okay. I'm okay with that.
Not too much, otherwise the color turns to shit. Too white.
Did you already put the sugar in?
Oh yeah, you have to put sugar in first.
How many sugars?
Since I'm on a severe diet, half of this bag. This I'll save for later. From 1980, which meant was I just had my operation, and I was with group 5. Dazzle Reed. This is like an iPhone in those days. All right, I was having golf with Brian at 11, at least on that day, Friday.
Didn't they have smaller size pocketbooks?
Oh, you wrote it on your desk. Pick up Cindy.
No.
Read supper with friends. Oh look, on Wednesday the 30th.
Yes, Cindy. I met her when she was in high school, baby.
In high school?
She was in high school.
No.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I was at college and she was getting towards the end of high school, I'm sure.
Can you like describe what was the nature of the relationship was like? Like, was it? I don't know.
You know,
How would you describe it?
I would say that first love, I suppose. She lived about 5 houses away from Bachelor's Inn. And I honestly don't remember how I met her, but somewhere after the accident, she must either walk past or we saw her, and you know, I wasn't really ever shy of stopping somebody and just trying to engage and whatnot. The time I went to Mauritius, we told them that we were going with friends, and the guys stay in one area and the women stay in another area. It's bullshit, man. Yeah. And then we did Europe first. This is in Switzerland. And then we ended up in Israel. This was on the kibbutz. With all the, the redhead was from Ireland, there's some Aussies, some New Zealanders, some South Africans, a German, a Dutchman. That guy was a Dutchman. That was guys from the kibbutz, and that guy was from the kibbutz. The kibbutz was in the north, in a place called the Hula Valley, which is where the Litani River is the northern border of Israel, Syria on the right, Lebanon in the north, and then an enclave of Israel on the left. So we were in a pocket. And we arrived late in the afternoon. We were given food. It looked kind of nice. It was a hell of a lot better than England and London. It was outside. It was winter. It was fresh, but it was kind of South African looking for me. It was open, blue skies, and and we had shown to our place where we were going to stay just a room with a bed and whatnot. You just made of it what you want. It was like a bunk as you were in the army, so to speak. So all of it was pretty good. And that night we, just had dropped our stuff and we all met for dinner and whatnot. While we're having dinner, there's an explosion that almost blew the windows out of the kibbutz. Christ! And another one, and another one. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Jesus, what is this? Oh, don't worry, it's ours, says the kibbutznik, who's the main guy. What do you mean ours? Well, those are cannons. Just in our yard we have cannons. Oh, cannons? What are you doing with cannons? Well, we're shooting at the Palestinians. They're shooting rockets at us. Jesus, somebody could have told me this shit. Now I'm sitting in the middle of this war zone. You have no idea. I said, well, that, is a good topic for us to show you where the bomb shelters are. Bomb shelters? The fuck's this? We're coming to a farm to pick avocados. We're not in a war. The shock to the system was unbelievable. I mean, it was like, you're shitting me. We're in the middle of some war here. And there's a bomb shelter at the kibbutz.
Oh, wow.
So that's what you had to get into. And then it goes down about 3 stories, 30 feet.
So which direction would you have been running from?
I can't remember. They were called Katusha rockets, and the first one came down in the trees, and we knew that we were in range. And then when that drops, the first one drops, the next ones are coming very, very quickly, and they'll all drop in about the same area. So then you have to sprint for a shelter. And that may have been 300 yards away, from where I was. It was 300. I was with a guy from Ethiopia and I think 2 Aussies or Kiwis that we were working in, and knew immediately that this was too close. We had been there for 4 months, and so at least this was too close, and they were coming down where we were, and they were. And as we were kind of making it, probably still 50 yards or so to go for a shelter, and one went off very close to us behind some trees. You fly, thrown around like a rag doll. So when you get up, but my leg, the leg that had been broken, felt that something had happened. And there's the guy from Ethiopia.
So he's the one.
He's the guy who helped me get into the bomb shelter. Anyway, thank God for the guy from Ethiopia. I came from Israel, had to be operated on. You can see my legs still bandaged from the operation. So everybody who was lying under the boat, scraped off all the barnacles, did all the anti-fouling.
So when you left to go on the yacht, you posed that to Cindy, right? But she said no.
Yeah, the prospect of being on a yacht seemed awfully claustrophobic. I can imagine it's not for everybody. I thought it would be a cool thing to do. It certainly you would, it'd improve everything. Those things are, there's no book about these things. And at the end of it all, you're smarter, wiser, and if you didn't die, you were alive at a better plateau. And so it wasn't for her. I could see it, and that was fine.
So then when you left, did you tell her explicitly? You were like, oh, let's put this on hold, or... I have that piece of paper to tell you exactly what my mindset was, and it's no different to what I had said before. I think at that point in time, the prospect of not being with her for the rest of my life would have been like, oh, I don't think I wasn't thinking like that.
This is the document that kind of memorialized the fact that the overall plan was for me to get on the yacht, sail for a while, and then hook up with Cindy and basically go in, into the next chapter of our lives, I guess, whatever that would have been at the time. Carl. Cindy will keep this until she leaves, which implied that she was leaving to join me. Cindy will pay for the license through 8182 and the third party, which is insurance, through 8182, which is exactly kind of the plan. When Cindy leaves, she will bring the car here down to my parents, and it can either remain here. If that's the case, just disconnect the battery, or if you want to use it, drive it. I hope by then Cindy will have had the dent repaired. Must have been the dent. Anyway, that was it. That was the document I found that kind of laid out, at least in my alleged mind, what the overall plan was.
We did have a good time in Europe, and that there was nothing in my mind that would drive us apart. But you need to be on the same page. And I would say Cindy was already in a different mind. That this travel was okay up to a point, but other people were moving on with their careers, and I've never said it to you guys, but. My advice is live life to its full. And if along that period of time you bump into somebody that is that is in sync with you, then you're lucky. That's me over there, and that's Peter and Navon, and those are the bananas we stole. So we were now crossing the from Tenerife to thing. That's where they got a mahi, the dolphin fish. There you go. Not bad. While sailing, she had brought Mars bars, which are the coolest to have out when you're in the middle of the ocean with nothing. It's very cool.
Oh my god, that must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. Very cool. Fixing sails. When the sails ripped, you have to bring it in. We had a sewing machine. Everything was on gimbals so that it would swing with the boat. The barometer was always our warning sign for changes in the weather, a steep drop off in the bars. In
indicated something was on its way, and it would change from, calm and placid ocean to very, very rough and intense.
Mid-Atlantic roller coming over here, and so the boat would go with the waves. We were sailing with the waves at that point. As Jack's doing a sextant sighting, he did most of the navigation. This is where I went to the top of the post.
In the middle of the ocean.
And this was one of the most dangerous things I've ever done, yeah. To sit on the top there, and then while this boat is sailing and getting thrown around, it was amazing. I thought I actually broke my jaw on that.
Why? You got your face slammed?
You have no idea. You have no idea. I cannot even begin to tell you how violent it is. But absolutely. If we did 180 miles a day, it was phenomenal. Just made your way. And so this is pretty much what it's like out at sea. For days and days, and you're thousands of miles from anywhere. You have to do whatever you can on your own.
It takes a couple of days for the seas to calm down, and would be becalmed, for instance, and all of a sudden you'd have a storm pass over and everything changes in a nanosecond.
This is like the worst, just flogging away. There's no wind, just backwards and forwards, 24 hours, a few days. I was lying on the deck, just nothing else to do, just dreaming. And I heard the boom, and I thought, Jesus, are we in perhaps a firing range of a naval area or whatever? Couldn't figure it out, but I was looking up and I could see the jets, and it was actually the Concorde. Now I could spit as far as we would be in an hour, and in a couple of hours they would be from New York to London. The whole journey took 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, maybe a little bit more out at sea. On the day as planned, you start to look on the horizon to see if you're in the right direction, and when will that island start to appear on the horizon. And when it does, you start to realize how long and how big and epic that journey was. The kind of adrenaline rush of entering a new chapter started to kick in, and I remember getting on the plane and just watching as the turquoise waters and the white sands and that were just kind of disappearing off the side of the plane, and I was heading to Cindy in San Francisco. I met my sister Margaret and my husband Derek, and we went to their house, settled in anticipation of Cindy arriving any day or on her way already. So I called the next day to Mom's house where she lived, to just let Mom know that I was in San Francisco and that she wouldn't be there on her own, so to speak. Anyway, that's probably the most awkward, fun call I've had in my life, because when I called and I had nothing to prepare me for this, but when I called, she had said that that Cindy, she just came back from the wedding, and I said, the wedding? And she says, yes, Cindy got married today. I said, Jesus Christ, seriously? And I had to kind of process that. Anyway, long story short, when I called, I found out that she had just got married that day. And it was perplexing and confusing and disappointing and pissed off. And, you got to be kidding me, I flew all this way. But that, was much more because you kind of lost I would say a love, I suppose, in your life. And that loss, is not something that you go and get back. It isn't like you lost your wallet and go and find it and get a replacement card or anything tangible. It is about the helplessness of not being able to rectify the situation to the point where you thought it was going to be. But there is at that time a tremendous energy, and I think in my own mind I felt that if I was going to channel this energy, I need to do it in a way that at some point I'll turn around and say, I'm better off for that whole experience. I may not have got it back, but I was at a better place. And no doubt in my mind, that emotional energy pushed me forward in what I ended up doing ultimately and what I became. I decided to start my own business, and for 12 years or so at least, I would say to you, absolutely successful in what I did at the company. It was very, very intense living.
So when did you meet Mom?
Late 80s. We got married in the courthouse in Martinez, so Mom could get her green card. And then later, about a year or so later, we got married in Portugal with all her friends and family and a couple of friends of mine, and that was fantastic. And so, long story short, been the coolest 33 years of my life. Cheers.
So, last thing. Do you have any regrets? It's the big question.
Zero, baby.
None? You can't think of any?
You always do something that you regret, but God, I don't dwell on it. If you do everything you set out to do, there's very little you regret. This is when you guys,
Oh, really?
Andrew, Thomas.
This was before me.
It's right, you were the Immaculate Conception.
Hi.
No, don't avoid it. We're looking through old pictures.
Oh, there's more. There's not only the ones that you're looking over there, Dad.
Oh, come on. I have to feature you somehow.
Yeah, there we go. You can see. Mariana wasn't such a
Aha. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, but not very big. Come on.
No.
You were born in February. This was November. Jeez. That was not at all.
Oh, that was before the beer belly, Dad.
Yeah, look how good I looked. If you set your mind on it, you have a plan, you pursue it, you modify your plan, you get there. And if you defeat yourself in your mind, you'll sit down in one place and regret everything.